Benny Andersson has been a music legend for decades. As one of the masterminds behind ABBA, he gave the world songs that still make people sing and dance today. But behind the glitter and the chart-topping hits, life wasn't always easy. ABBA's breakup hit hard, and Benny faced personal and family struggles that few fans ever truly knew about. He kept most of it private, choosing to let the music speak for him. But now, at 78, Benny has finally opened up about the truth about her, about his past, and about what's really going on with ABBA today. Join us as we take a closer look at Benny's remarkable journey from the very beginning, and find out what he has finally confessed. Benny Andersson was born on the 16th of December 1946 in the Vasastan district of Stockholm. His father, Jasta, was a civil engineer, and both his father and grandfather played the accordion. When Benny was 6, they bought him his own accordion and introduced him to Swedish folk music and Schlager. He quickly fell in love with all kinds of music. His first records included Elvis Presley's Jailhouse Rock, and he especially adored the piano on Treat Me Nice. At 10, he got his own piano and taught himself to play. School didn't hold his attention, and he left at 15 to start performing at youth clubs. There he met his first girlfriend, Christina Grenvall, with whom he had 2 children, Peter, born in 1963, and Helene, born in 1965. In early 1964, Benny joined a group called Elverkets Spelmanslag, a playful name referencing their electric instruments, and began writing his very first songs. In October 1964, Benny joined the pop band The Hepstars as their keyboardist. By March 1965, they'd broken through with the hit Cadillac, quickly becoming one of Sweden's most celebrated bands. Benny wasn't just their keyboard player, he became their main musical force, and a genuine teen idol, writing big hits including Sunny Girl, Wedding, and She Will Love You. In June 1966, Benny met Bjorn Ulvaeus, and the two immediately began writing together. Their first song was Isn't It Easy to Say, recorded by the Hepstars. Benny also co-wrote Head Clown, which came second at the 1969 Melody Festival, Sweden's Eurovision qualifier. That same event changed his life in another way. He met singer Annie Frid Lyngstad, and they soon became a couple. Around that same time, Bjorn met Agnetha Feltskog. These 2 personal relationships would draw all 4 together in the years ahead. Benny and Bjorn scored their first joint songwriting hits in 1969. As the 2 couples began supporting each other in recording sessions, the electrifying blend of Agnetha and Annie Frid's voices convinced them to model their group on successful mixed vocal acts of the era. Benny produced Annie Frid's debut album Frida in 1971, and by the early 1970s, all 4 were actively building each other's careers. Their first performance together came in April 1970 on a trip to Cyprus, where an informal beach sing-along turned into an impromptu concert for UN soldiers. Later that year, they launched a stage act called Festfolk, meaning both party people and engaged couples, debuting it on the 1st of November in Gothenburg. Their performance of Hey Gamle Man became their first joint hit, reaching number 5 on the charts and staying at number 1 on Svensktoppen for 15 weeks. In June 1972, they released People Need Love under the name Bjorn and Benny, Agnetha and Annie Frid, and it even charted in the United States, the first small step towards something enormous. In 1973, the group entered Melodifestivalen with Ring Ring, given English lyrics by Emil Sedaka and Phil Cody. It came 3rd, but became a hit across Europe and South Africa regardless. That same year, manager Stig Andersson gave them a shorter name, ABBA, the first letters of each member's first name, also a playful nod to a Swedish fish canning company. The name appeared on studio paperwork by late 1973, and by 1976, the iconic logo with its mirrored B, born when Benny accidentally held his letter the wrong way during a photo shoot, became permanent. In 1974, ABBA chose the glam rock-inspired Waterloo for Melodifestivalen, and on the 6th of April they claimed the Eurovision Song Contest crown. The win opened doors across Europe overnight. Waterloo hit number 1 in 9 countries and cracked the US top 10 at number 6. Their singles Sus and Mamma Mia became massive hits across Europe and Australia. Mamma Mia held number 1 for 10 weeks. In March 1976 came Greatest Hits, their first UK number 1 album, featuring the new track Fernando, which topped charts in at least 13 countries and sold over 10 million copies. Then arrived Arrival, including Money Money, Money, Knowing Me, Knowing You, and their most iconic song of all, Dancing Queen, which topped charts globally, including in the United States. In January 1977, they launched their first major world tour, eventually captured in ABBA the movie. In 1979, they released Voulez-Vous, recorded partly at Miami's legendary Criteria Studios, featuring Chiquitita and I Have a Dream. A massive North American tour followed, with 6 nights at London's Wembley Arena. In 1980, they toured Japan for 11 sold-out concerts, their last major world tour. That July brought the winner, Takes It All, followed by Super Trooper in November, which broke UK records with over 1 million pre-orders. ABBA had reached every corner of the globe. In mid-February 1981, Benny Andersson and Annie Frid Lyngstad announced they were filing for divorce. Information surfaced that their marriage had been struggling for years, and that Benny had already met another woman TV producer, Mona Nurklet, whom he married in November of that same year. Despite the personal turbulence, Andersson and Ulvaeus resumed recording. Their 1981 album, The Visitors, was more mature and introspective, dealing with failed relationships, political oppression, and loss of innocence. One of Us became ABBA's last number 1 in Germany and their final UK top 3 hit. With Benny and Frida's divorce now public, the cracks within the group grew impossible to ignore. In spring 1982, the group attempted new recording sessions, but managed only 3 songs before deciding the results weren't strong enough. Instead, they released the singles The First 10 Years, a compilation that hit number 1 in the UK and Belgium. The final single, Under Attack, ended up being the last thing ABBA ever released before quietly dissolving. On the 11th of December 1982, they performed together for the very last time, broadcast live from Stockholm via the Late Breakfast Show with Noel Edmonds in the UK. One of the most successful chapters in pop history had closed. ABBA was more than a band. They were 2 real-life couples, Agnetha Flautskog with Björn Ulvaeus and Benny Andersson with Annie Frid Lyngstad. Their romantic stories were central to ABBA's early appeal. Fans loved knowing that the people singing love songs on stage went home to each other at night. Agnetha and Björn married in July 1971, with Benny playing the organ at their wedding. They had daughter Linda in 1973 and son Peter in 1977. But the relentless pressure of fame strained their marriage, and in 1979, at the very height of ABBA's success, they split. Around this time, Björn wrote The Winner, Takes It All a song. Agnetha sang with devastating emotion. She later said she could put such feeling into it. While they described the split as amicable publicly, she later acknowledged honestly that there are no happy divorces, especially when children are involved. Benny and Frida's story began in 1969, and they didn't marry until October 1978, when ABBA was at its peak. Just 2 years later, they separated. Benny told reporters they remained friends, but the real picture emerged quickly. He had met Mona Nurklet and married her in 1981. Frida said they simply grew out of each other. There were tears and long discussions, but breaking up became a necessity. By 1982, both marriages were over, and so was ABBA's golden era. When ABBA ended, Björn and Benny stayed hugely active. They wrote the acclaimed musical Chess with Tim Rice, then developed Mamma Mia, a franchise seen by over 70 million people in 50 productions across 16 languages, grossing more than $7 billion. Benny also founded Benny Andersson's Orchestra Bow, blending Swedish folk traditions with pop and classical music, producing multiple Swedish number 1 hits. Frida and Agnetha's paths took a harder direction. Agnetha battled stage fright, a fear of flying, and the emotional toll of life in the spotlight. After ABBA, she had difficult personal relationships, eventually withdrawing deep into the Swedish countryside, living in near seclusion until a surprise comeback album in 2004. Frida's story carried its own weight. Born in 1945 to a Norwegian mother and a German soldier father she never met, she grew up in Sweden after her mother died at just 21. By the time ABBA ended, she had already lived several lives. After the split from Benny, she eventually moved to Switzerland, and in 1992 married into German royalty, becoming Her Serene Highness Princess Annie Frid of Rus. Tragedy followed. Her daughter was killed in a car accident in 1998, and her husband died of cancer the following year. Frida said her faith carried her through the pain. After ABBA's split, the reunion question became music's most persistently asked. Offers poured in over the decades, including a reported $1 billion deal in the early 2000s, which they declined. But in 2018, all four began talking again. What started as plans for 2 new songs grew into a full album, Voyage, released in 2021, their first new music in nearly 40 years, which topped the UK charts. Bjorn recalled the first day back in the studio. He looked around into Agnetha's and Frida's eyes, and there was the same warmth, friendship, and bond he'd always known. Alongside the album came a groundbreaking announcement: a purpose-built arena in London's Stratford, and photorealistic digital avatars. The avatars representing the group as they looked in 1979, accompanied by a live 10-piece band. ABBA Voyage opened in May 2022 at the custom-built ABBA Arena near Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in Stratford, London. The avatars were crafted using motion capture technology developed with Industrial Light Magic, the visual effects company behind Star Wars, making the experience startlingly lifelike. The show became a cultural and economic phenomenon. By its 3rd anniversary in May 2025, it had welcomed over 3 million visitors. According to consultancy Sound Diplomacy, ABBA Voyage contributed an estimated £1.4 billion in turnover to the UK economy between 2022 and 2024. A staggering figure that speaks to the enduring power of ABBA's music and the brilliance of their innovation. To mark the 3rd anniversary, ABBA updated the setlist for the first time since opening, adding 4 beloved hits: Super Trooper, Take a Chance on Me, The Name of the Game, and Money Money Money. The anniversary show also drew celebrity guests, including Elvis Costello, U2's Adam Clayton, Guy Garvey of Elbow, and Richard Osman. In a memorable moment at the VIP after-party, Benny sat at the piano accompanying Elvis Costello, and briefly Frida herself, in an evening that felt like a genuine celebration of everything this extraordinary group has built. Bjorn has hinted that more songs may be added to the experience in the future, and plans for potential replica arenas in Asia, Australia, and North America are reportedly under discussion. On the 27th of May 2025, something truly special happened at the 3rd anniversary show. Benny Andersson, now 78, and his former wife and bandmate, Annie Frid Lyngstad, 79, made an unannounced appearance together at the ABBA Arena. The crowd erupted when the two appeared in the balcony, a rare and emotional sight, given that their marriage ended over 4 decades ago. Benny, in a printed blazer, and Frida, elegant in cream, stood side by side as cheers filled the venue. Frida took the microphone first, telling the audience she loved them very much and thanking them for all their support. She noted how difficult it was to believe it had been nearly 50 years, then laughed. "I'm turning 80 this year," drawing even louder applause. Benny then stepped up, and rather than a solemn speech, lightened the room with a playful quip that made Frida burst into genuine laughter. For fans watching, it was more than a joke. It was a glimpse into the ease and warmth that still exists between two people who met in 1969, fell in love, married in 1978 at the height of global fame, and then painfully went their separate ways. Their appearance at Voyage together was the kind of quiet revelation fans had waited decades for. Benny had always been private about the personal cost of everything that happened between them. But standing there beside Frida, making her laugh, he confirmed something that needed no formal speech. What broke apart in 1981 was a marriage, but not the bond. At 78, Benny shows no sign of slowing down. He married Mona Nurklet in November 1981, and they are still together today. Their son Ludwig, born in 1982, is now the producer behind ABBA Voyage, carrying his father's legacy directly into the next generation. Benny's creative energy remains remarkable. In 2025, he returned to the stage for a series of intimate bow concerts across Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö, celebrated for blending Swedish folk music with pop and classical traditions. In January 2025, he also launched a new passion project, a feature documentary called ISIWL, about Swedish music icon ISW Mimquist, which he developed and will appear in himself. Meanwhile, both Mamma Mia and Chess, the two great musicals he co-wrote with Bjorn, are set to run simultaneously on Broadway, with Mamma Mia returning to the Winter Garden Theatre from August 2025. It is an astonishing achievement for two men who started writing songs together in Sweden in 1966 and have never really stopped. With an estimated net worth of around $230 million, Benny Andersson is one of the most successful composers in pop history. But what defines him most isn't the fortune or the awards or the streaming numbers. It's the sight of him at the ABBA Arena in May 2025, sitting at a piano, making Frida laugh, and reminding the world that the music and the bond behind it was always the real thing. Do you think ABBA's marriages and divorces were the main reason the band broke up, or would it have happened anyway? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories about the legends who shaped our world. See you next time.